Mi nombre es Ricardo Salinas, de Guadalajara, Jalisco.
Yo soy Gustavo Peña de Los Ángeles, California.
Yo soy Guadalupe González de Tijuana, Baja California, México.
Fernando Moreno de Tucson, Arizona.
Adrián Guijarra de Long Beach, California.
Eddie Hernandez de East LA.
Adrián Mendoza de Chihuahua, México.
Jorge Contreras de Tecalitlán, Jalisco. Willy Acuña, Central California. Jorge Flores, LA.
Felipe Romero, Alto Vallarta.
Say that one more time, please. No, ya, para que gane volumen, para estar haciendo sonido ahorita.
Sí. Felipe Romero, sí, 2. Sí, Puerto Vallarta.
Don't work. Yeah.
Chuy Hernandez, Mexicali, California.
So the concept of this group of Sol has always been, I think in the early 90s, was to try to keep the group young, energetic. When I opened my restaurant, I couldn't pick, have my pick from like the best mariachis. It's like whoever needed a gig, they went to a new restaurant to work with me, right? But we had really good musicians also during that time. But a couple of years after that, the group started getting younger and younger and younger. And just like I said last night, Felipe wasn't even born yet when we opened the restaurant. But yeah, it was sort of like the discipline of the group has always been pretty consistent. Like our standing position, our rest position. Once Lupe comes back, last night he disappeared. But usually our rest position is usually like that. Enseñen la otra con el arco, con los sacos para arriba. There's another, it's used also with the bow like that. Sometimes they do that. But for this group, it's usually the other one. It's usually this one. Usually our trumpet players, our rest position. It's not like one guy this way and then a guy this way. We're always thinking of what people are seeing. Right? Harp, rest position. He just stands there. Guitarron. One thing that I don't like, and I don't stress it a lot, with the guys, I don't like for their feet to be like this close together. It's nicer for them to be, it just shows more pride. It shows, even when you're playing violin, when you're here, when you arch your back a little bit, as opposed to just playing like this, it's a big difference. It's usually like that, right? Okay, párense directamente facing them, with up turn, and play facing this way. It just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
The other way looks. Right, Lupe's smiling, he has a look. That's something that we're always looking at. Now, there are places that we play where it's just acoustic, right? It's acoustic balance, where we don't have sound. Like for instance, if we play, no tomen los micrófonos, pónganse enfrente de los micrófonos, muchachos, por favor, sí. Enfrente de los micrófonos. Eso sí, bueno, ellos están para allá. Pero si yo digo que we're going to play Somos Novios, it's impossible, right? Balance ourselves. As a soloist, I play like half the volume, so you guys could be able to hear the strings, hear the strums. Now, usually if I tell them cuadro, ¿no? Vamos a la gente, right? So, otra vez somos novios y ustedes hacen su So they have to do like an imaginary setup where they're all, somebody's covering always a spot, right? Por ejemplo, Ricardo, yo voy a pedir Ricardo, ponte acá. Guti, así es el cuadro. That's sort of like an automatic thing that we like to do. And sometimes every room is different, right? Sometimes there's confusion, like this morning right now. Nobody is really awake, you know? But that's usually what we try to do, you know, and it's, if 1, 2, 3 guys come with an attitude of I don't care, you know, it's not a good thing. If we all have to come and try to work as a team and try to fill it. So once we start, then we try to balance ourselves. Balance ourselves because it helps the audio, you know, what you guys are listening to. 99% of mariachi groups really, they don't really care about that. You know, they want to go, they want to make their money, they want to leave. It's not about what are the people listening to. You know, what are they listening to? A balancing. The mentalities of 99% of groups are not that. Well, for those of you that do work gigs on weekends, you guys know that, right? We want to go, we want to play. And for a director, it drives me nuts, right? Because every time that we go and we touch people, and people, they get touched by the group. They see the best that we could do as a group. There's a great chance that 2 of those people are going to tell more people, and more work comes to the group. You know, and it's very hard to inject it into professional musicians. You know what? It's, you know, like you got to leave doors open. You got to network. You got to make people feel that they're a part of our family or a musical family. So how does it sound out there? The street. It sounds pretty neat, right? We hardly ever do it. I mean, honestly, we're usually like this. We do another setup. You guys come back. Vénganse, por favor. Vamos a hacer las 2 líneas como normalmente hacemos. ¿Sí?
I love the way that they'll disengage
¿Sí?
the audience.
This is another way. When we don't have a lot of space, yo digo 2 líneas, and usually the guys are over here. Our first violin, Eric is usually over here. Adrian is one of the new guys. So he's still like, okay, someone tell me, right? So we always put the violins, obviously, there. We try to put the harp in the middle because it looks nicer. Toca la otra vez, por favor. So the guitar player has to pluck a little louder because he's further back, right? we're always trying to see what our surroundings are as a group. Sometimes, if they do go to a job, they ask for 6 or 7 guys. Sometimes the repertoire changes, right? And we start playing more polkas, more traditional. It's more about traditional sort of setup, 7 guys, and we'll play more instrumentals. Like la gruta. Who studied the gruta here? Yeah? So our take on la gruta is a little bit different. So voy a pedir que se paren como me gusta que se paren un poquito, toquen la gruta, ¿sí? ¿Guste la gruta? ¿Ah? 1, 2. Depends what we're playing. Sometimes we'll play that with 3 violins only, 3 trumpets. And the whole showmanship thing is, I mean, it's so important also in mariachi. A lot of musicians don't like to say, okay, I'm gonna go do the gig, I'm gonna go do this thing, and the whole showmanship means smiling in front of people. It's not important. It is important, you know. But also, it is important when we're playing, right? And sometimes we have to concentrate a lot on what we're playing, and it's secondary, you know, we're smiling. You know, I'd rather have you all play well, play with, you know, always be listening to each other. Right now, I'm listening to the rhythm section. When they're playing, right away I'm listening. I'm hearing that because that's sort of guiding me for me. Try to have the pitch right where it should be. And I'm also listening to their chords that they're playing. Toquen los acordes a la entrada, ¿sí? Así a capela, puros violines. 1, 2, 3. You know, there's got has to be the sensitivity, especially the violins, because there's always 5, 4, 6 violins, and it becomes more difficult, you know, for everybody to be on the same page. And it's such a huge responsibility for a leader also. You know, sometimes they have to be aggressive in a good way, so everybody could feel like, okay, we got our leader and he's leading us. Sometimes there are leaders that say, oh, I don't want to get anybody upset. It's not about that. You know, it's about being professional, and boom, that's our system. That's what we play. That's what we do. My trumpet section, I'm the leader, right? And I mean, the guys, they really don't have a problem with that. A lot of times I'm turning around with us because I'm always listening to pitch. It helps me too, stay in pitch. You know, I don't know, did you guys hear the group pretty much in tune last night? I mean, we're trying to play as much in tune as we can. I gotta listen to a recording now, so they recorded that last night. Okay. See you.
I noticed last night, I was watching, you guys were constantly in communication with each other. You guys divided.
Well, right now a little bit more because it feels almost like uncomfortable because we have a violinist that moved to Chicago. So our new violinist is Adrian. Right? Adrian's been in the group. He's been in the group a month. All the music that he's been learning in 1 month. And everybody's But besides Adrian being a very talented player, he's very well educated too. Tell him a little bit about.
I did an undergrad on violin performance at Cal Beach, and my grad school on viola performance.
Yeah. So, you know, Adrian is a young man that Eric would recommend. Hey, we ever recorded? Adrian is there, so he comes in. I mean, come in, no problem. Sees the music for the first time, and we're 2, 3 takes, and then record. Okay, that's super, super important. Who's been playing the less amount of time the violin? I think has been Ricardo. Ricardo's been playing the less amount of time, right? So he's more of a musician that doesn't have that big, huge musical background. It's more of a natural thing for him, and it's hard. He struggles. He goes, wow, this is like, everything's so complicated here. Yeah, it is complicated. It's not your normal, okay, we're going to do a triad, a very basic triad, when we're doing strings. We'll do something like the, so they have to retain and remember those harmonies. But if we're playing something like the Glenn Miller medley that we do once in a while, they have to retain those. It's not like a normal, okay, I'm just going from 1 to 5 to 4. Pretty traditional. Sometimes we have to do this, so anybody that hasn't been exposed to that in this group, it's sort of like a wake-up call. But the great thing is that the attitude, I mean, let me tell you, I don't think, in all the years that we've been together for 35 years, I haven't had such a great, positive group of guys play together like these guys. Somebody new comes in and they're always willing to help, always willing to, during their breaks at the restaurant. Some guys want to, hey, I want to go have dinner during my break. But if the new guy, hey, can you record, this song for me, my part? Because that's their job, to ask. The guys aren't going to say, hey, come here, I'm going to teach you. No. The guys that have been here longest expect the new guys to ask them, hey, can you play? Because we don't have music for, maybe like 70% of the stuff we play without them. I mean, maybe 30% of the stuff we do have music, written out music, but a lot of the stuff is traditional that we play. So they have to sort of record our shows, record their parts. It's always part of that professionalism. But also, even when we sing, si cantamos la Feria de las Flores, me gusta cantar el viejo porque vuelan mis cantares y digo lo que yo siento por toditos los lugares. Aquí vine porque vine a la Feria de las Flores. No hay cerro que se me empine, ni guapo que se me acorde. So we're always trying to hear the balance and where everybody's at. Sometimes it changes. Like I said, there are only 4 violins, so sometimes Lupe might have to sing third or second voice. He might have to change to third or second. Eric might have to sing first. Sometimes he has to second or third. We're always constantly changing and seeing what our balance is. If I say, Guti, vente para acá, Guti. Adrián, vente para acá. Fernando aquí, etc. ¿Sí? Toca el son de la negra, sí. Una segunda vez. Toca primera, toca segunda, o toca segunda y tú tocas tercera. ¿Ah? ¿Ah? So we always have to have that option where one is changing the first, one is changing the second. The traditional stuff, we don't have too much of that problem. And I say, look at it, Lupe usually plays third here, ¿verdad? A ver, toca segunda, ¿verdad? Tú toca primera, Eric toca tercera. Eric is here, first violin, right? vocales? Ah. So it's very, very rare that I do this kind of combination, but they still have to know that traditional songbook that mariachis have. They have to know first, second, and third violin parts. That's sort of like the ultimate. You know, one as a director, you get a violinist that all ask, "What do you play?" If they say, "I play first," okay, this guy's not the guy for my group. You go, "What do you play?" What do you want me to play? I could, I play third pretty good, second. My strength is third, but I do play all three, the traditionals. That's what I love to hear. That's what I love to hear. But somebody says, "Oh, I only know second." I go, "Dude," I go, "Come on." Sometimes when I need a first, and you're here, and I need that flexibility of the violin section. That's the hardest thing I think about the section. In the rhythm section, I think, ¿cuánto tiempo tienes, Tigre? A little over a year. ¿De Felipe? ¿Vihuela o guitarra? La mayoría tiene. Yeah? So he's been playing vihuela for a while. But, he plays guitar very beautifully too. Modern, just he could accompany himself just alone with the guitar. He's a very good guitar player. But him coming into the group, he comes and okay, there's a system of playing. His job is sort of to pick up that kind of system, and my job as a director is to see what his strength is and to try to feature him there. So he's got an awesome left hand, right hand. So you saw yesterday at Cascabel. He does a lot of things with the vihuela. He does some positions that are pretty cool. But for me, what's more important is that he keeps good tempo together with Chuy. So if I play a rey, huh? Good? In do? Right? We locked in already.
Yeah.
Right? So if I play a rey with a different tempo, they gotta listen to where I'm at musically. Right? Play it slower, but right away they locked in with me. With the 2 quarter notes that I played, they already heard what the tempo was. If I play it faster, right? So their job is like, what kind of mood does Jose come to work in? The tree tells me, he goes, today you played it a little faster than yesterday. I go, but we played it together, right? So that's the whole idea, right? To play it together, right? And obviously vocally, we always depend on Lupe. We depend on Lupe. Ricardo's a strong vocalist. Gustavo's a strong vocalist. Fernie's a strong vocalist. Adrián nos ayuda a nosotros también. The trio, he helps us a lot in the trios. Right now, he's just concentrated on his playing, to be honest with you. Eric is a strong one. I hardly ever put him to sing, but Eric actually sings very pretty. But but he's really good at harmonizing. Like, I think yesterday he did some, when we're doing the Agustin Lara thing, he's never sang those trios with us. Never. Because we had to fill in with the other guy that was in here, Joaquin, and then we played another song where he came in, and I was looking at him and I go, one of the songs, right? And he was singing a song that he's never really sang in that medley yet, but I counted him like he has a lot of experience. He knows a ton of songs. And I knew he would know the lyrics to that song, right? But still, we were sort of nervous for him. We go, oh man, I go, he's so used to accompanying that part. Por tu culpa, mujer, por tu culpa. But it came out okay. And Eric did the trio, came out okay. And he's just hearing, remember I told you guys, how do you do trios? I go, we're just hearing the progressions. And that's just what we do. Yeah? That's just what we do. We sort of try to hear it. Dicen que la distancia es lo que te chuta. Pero no lo toquen, eh? Just sing the first voice. Okay? I don't know if he knows the lyrics, but no, I don't know. Pero canta la tercera, ¿no? Okay. Pero yo no consigo esa razón, okay? Here we go. Dice que la distancia es el olvido, pero yo no consigo esa razón, porque
porque yo seguiré siendo el cautivo de los caprichos de tu corazón. Supiste esclarecer mi pensamiento, me diste la verdad que yo soñé.
I mean, we're trying to fill in, he doesn't know the lyric, we're trying to fill in the harmony, right? And my hope is that the first voice always stays in pitch, right? Always stays in pitch, right? No, it's, I mean, you know, when the nerves kick in, we always tend to laugh. Those are nerves, right? But it's sort of nerve-wracking. So you don't have to tercera, ¿no? Dicen que la distancia es el olvido, pero yo no consigo esa razón, porque yo seguiré siendo el cautivo de los caprichos de tu corazón. Supiste esclarecer mi pensamiento, me dice la verdad que yo soñé, ahuyentaste de mí los sufrimientos en la primera noche que te amé. Hoy mi playa se viste de amargura. Right? So we're always trying to cover, because we already sort of hear the progressions that the rhythm section is playing. These are all the things that happen in mariachi that sometimes in workshops we don't really talk about. We just sort of do it automatically when we go out there and play. And it's fun when you have sort of a group of guys that hey, let's do this trio. We used to do that with my family a lot. I mean, 30 years ago, we used to play it with my father singing third or second, or Pedro, my brother, singing first, or me singing third or second. We always switched around, and we improvised trios. It's fun. It's really fun. There are certain places that we get to do that. But just remember that the mariachi, it is primarily about playing well and singing well, but it's also very important to have the professionalism and the showmanship. So estamos tocando son la reina, por favor, muchachos, y va a ser así. ¿Ya? Venga. Va. lot of times we're not really looking at each other, but we're sort of feeling where the accents are, that they're sort of, it becomes contagious when you kind of. That pulse, and we're just trying to build this as much as we can. ¿Cuánto ves, Amate? Con el pulso de ellos, ¿eh? Otra connect with the pulse, whether it's a bolero, whether it's a son. And boleros I usually try to ask them to tocamos más allá, for instance.
Más allá de lo bello y precioso, estás tú. Más allá del sueño que ambiciono, estás tú. Más allá de la luna más bella que tendrá en este año. We're sort of hearing the pulse, their pulse. It's very, very important. And you know, a lot of times when we get rhythm, a rhythm player, guitar player, vihuela player, if they come with this attitude that it's me first, you gotta follow me, everybody, and they're not listening sort of to the pulse of the group of everybody playing, the bowings, where they feel comfortable bowing also, it can be played super fast, it's never going to work out. It's always that team effort. So that's basically the system that I use and that I've used for years. So a lot of the younger guys that are part of this group now, I mean, one way or the other, they listen to our records and stuff like that. They say, you know, one day I want to be in that group, work with the guys and stuff like that. My job is sort of make it pleasant for them to work. To want to play, to say, I like to play. I like to play. You know, we've been very blessed lately. We're working a lot, you know, and these are the toughest times to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
I know some of them were walking outside on Fremont Street. That's not too funny.
Oh, you did all right. Well, how much money did it cost?
He won $200. He won $200.
Can I ask a question? What audience, have you ever had a tough audience that you have to really work that hard to get?
Every audience is different.
Yeah, I mean, last night they were so with you, but I mean, when you have an audience that's a tough audience, there's some
You know,
strategy.
usually in the theaters, we don't have a problem because when somebody buys their ticket to go see us play, they're already pumped up to come and get us play. Right? Where it's difficult is when when we're not touring or we're not out, we're at the restaurant. And that's our job. We're at the restaurant. And if we approach it like a job, it doesn't become fun. We have to approach it as a chance to play together, to have fun, to enjoy what you're playing. And sometimes, it's difficult to go and play at the restaurant. It's a routine. But, I mean, who plays classical music? How many times do you have to play a certain concerto or a certain piece with a certain orchestra? We're going to play that. Okay. We only have this repertoire. We're just going to play those pieces. Yeah.
When you're at your restaurant or you're someplace where maybe the audience is not engaged in as much, do you guys go out and shake a few hands and say hello? And
That's even a story, let me tell you, but we've been getting a little bit better at that, I always tell guys, most of the time, if I'm not there, Chewy knows what kind of music to play to get them engaged with us, But sometimes, yeah, it becomes a routine. It becomes a routine, and I know the young guys, sometimes they want to play this song, that song, and I go, it would be great to play that song, but we have to practice it first, because we have a certain standard of presenting ourselves, or I like to think that we do. You understand what I mean? So, yeah, we could improvise a whole bunch of songs, but they won't come out 100% awesome. We have to brush it up a little bit during the break. Just wait, just go over there, this is what we do. But,
So when you guys are doing your solos and you come forward to sing for me, and you step forward, do you sing it the same? I mean, do the hands go up at this word? I mean, do you sort of have a choreograph what you're going to do where the hand goes up and the hand goes down?
Not
Is
really.
this how it takes you, or what?
Me personally, I just try to connect with the lyric, and wherever that takes me, and every day it's different because you feel different. Sometimes it'll connect differently with you, so that's what I try to do.
and I see it like when he goes up there and he performs, it's never the same. Never the same one.
I used to be like that.
The same thing with Gustavo. Now my job is when we're playing, or even at the restaurant, at the restaurant, I say, I know we're on a stage, but still there are people sitting over here and people sitting over there and in the middle. So start in the middle, then once in a while come over here. They like to know that you're singing to them.
Yeah.
Then there's la música del medio where we play, and we'll play here. They like that.
Yeah.
That's part of it, And sometimes you don't know how difficult it is to get it in somebody's head for them to say it's important. It's important. I mean, you're not doing me a favor. I mean, I could really go there and say, you're working for me, I'm paying you. I mean, are you interested in working here? I hate to go there. But it's like, you tell somebody you want them to be professional. I think guys like that. Where, it's just about them. Forget everybody, they have their chip on their shoulder. It's like, I try to be an example. And mariachis are a very special breed, let me tell you. At the professional level, well, you work with some professionals, but mariachis could be a very special breed sometimes. But then, you could also be very fortunate and very blessed. Like I said, I mean, for the most part, with us, it's a good chemistry. It's good for the most part. They're very, very flexible. You would say, boom, sometimes there's communication, lack of communication sometimes, and it's sometimes not their fault, or sometimes it's not our fault, right? But for the most part, it's gotten better through the years. And we have to, it's a respect for the audience,
I noticed, you improvised a little showmanship when the mic wasn't working, your brother came over and said, you put your arm around the violin player with someone on that mic,
And I was still trying to balance, right? Because my voice is a little louder than Eric's voice, but Eric it's
very soft.
Eric has a soft voice, but Eric sings very in tune. For me, it's cool to sing with him because he's in tune. It's a good guy for me. When you play with somebody that's in tune, it's awesome to play like that. It's not too nice to be playing with somebody that's out of tune.
Getting back to working a difficult crowd, I saw the Mexico played in Indiana, and I would say 95% of people did not heard what happened.
Oh, yeah. That sound racist.
And so the clapping was very polite.
some of the jazz language in your chords and your progression. It's so nice to. They were. I mean, I got excited hearing them talk about the record. I felt so good, so proud of my guys. But if you notice in Indiana, our show was a little different than last night.
Yes.
In Indiana, we were saying, "Me cansé de rogar." Like we knew nobody spoke Spanish, right? We're gonna, come on, sing with us. We're gonna sing. We sort of kept away from that. Right?
But the point is, they were on their feet at the end, and they're cheering and clapping, and the feedback was like.
We got converts, I think.
Complete, it's like, yeah.
That was a fun thing.
Yeah, that was fun.
It really was.
So, a lot of my students are starstruck by you guys. That's all I talk about in Mariachi school. In fact, one of the kids for Heritage Month dressed up as Jose Hernandez. He's like, who's your hero? Hernandez. What kind of advice would you have for, 6th, 7th grade kids who are just enamored with mariachi, to keep them excited about through the hard times, because learning your first song, you're like, oh my God, I can't do this.
I think the perfect people to ask, honestly, are for instance, Gustavo, who was part of the foundation group that we had for my foundation in 1991. He was, I think, the first generation of students, probably that. Him and his two sisters that played with Reinas, with the all-female that I had. But he could tell you more or less, what it was like going.
I'd say, you know what, it's like, if they're amazed with that, it was the same as me. So, what I wanted to strive for is just practice, so I can get in this group, so I guess just say practice. And, and if they come up to us, we're always nice to everybody. We try to be at least nice and talk to everybody, so, it would help for them to meet us maybe and talk to us.
Well, tell them, we can do that.
Yeah, we do that. Sometimes we do outreach, Sometimes we, together with our agent, wherever we go, there are a lot of groups. I think we did it in Oregon, right? In Portland, or we did in Eugene. We did a couple of the groups there. They came to actually to our sound check. I know we're going to be in Scottsdale, so you're going to take your kids to the Performing Arts Center. So they're going to sit in during our sound check.
Yeah, to me it was also as well. He would talk to all of us as well. So when he would talk, it was like.
And we had that yearly concert, where we featured the first batch of kids that we had. I think we had like about 40 students or something like that. And it was really cool to have them. Ricardo Montalban, when he was the speaker for our first show. I think the second year I took Lola Beltran, Lucha Villa, and Miguel Aceves Mejia, all three of them. And they went to support my foundation, which was just awesome. But all these guys were very young, they were little kids. And I think Adrian was part of our foundation too. Adrian, were you? Yeah, and he was part. He said, yeah, I was in the school at Bernie Stelling. I know you weren't, okay. But yeah, it's really cool, And we did a little Juanito de Mexico, I remember. I think Gustavo was part of it, Eric was part of it. But they were still doing, Eric was still doing his classical music, and I wasn't really brought up playing classical music, but I don't even know what goes through your mind when you're really like, your violin teacher's telling you to play this way, and then in mariachi, you're being pulled this way, as a kid. That must be very confusing, I would assume, right? Does that happen? Did that happen to you?
Well, I didn't really have teachers growing up.
No, but until college. Oh, so in a way to help. Eric had teacher things since the age of what, 8 even?
Oh, it's almost five.
I actually don't think that applies to violinists because at a certain age when I think the majority of people know when you play the violin, it takes you about half a year, maybe to 3/4 of a year to actually take out sound of the instrument without that scratchy noise. So for there to be a consistent clarity. So when they tell you mariachi play, like dig in, there's something about having studied that that's always going to prevent you from sounding that real rustic type of quality. But technically it doesn't affect you at all because I had teachers, and since that was my foundation when I played mariachi, or when I went my teacher, it was never an issue because I had other things I was doing apart from that, and my tone, that kind of foundation was already being set before I even started getting involved in mariachi. I think it applies more to trumpet players because the way the vibrato.
The attacks.
Yeah, I think it's a much more of a significant issue with them as opposed to us. I don't think there was ever anything that my teacher told me about because I was studying things really different. I would learn a couple songs. It's different. I think it's more applies to trumpets.
Could you demonstrate though what you like a classical approach and then mariachi approach? You know, what right there, you think there is a difference at all?
Well, I think like Negra is a good example. We all have to. It's a very energetic song, right? The majority of times when we're playing at the restaurant, my dad's not there, or Michael's not there. If Jorge and I are in charge, I pretty much always start with that one because that one's an easy one. It's good to warm your fingers if you haven't warmed up yet, and it's very energetic. But I think one of the key principles of playing that song is you always want to come in very energetic. You want to really. I'm putting a lot of weight on the bow, but I'm pulling it fast enough so it doesn't sound. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. I know a lot of guys in other groups that play very well. That didn't study, but they have an innate ability for the instrument, but they sound a little rasposo, a little scratchy when they play. But it's a part of the characteristic of music. I don't think I've ever really had, if anything, they told me, take it more, because it's too well, clear sometimes. But that's kind of somewhat of an obstacle that you're gonna run into when you have that, like, bowing. You know, I had a violin professor of violin. She told me, you know, the difference between sounding, when you project your sound, if you're behind like a concert violinist and they're projecting their tone, you know, they put the bow on the string and they put a certain amount of weight and they pull. Now, if you're behind them, you might hear a little of scratches, but by the time it projects out to people, you don't hear that. A lot of times when you hear people that more mariachi based, they don't have that much of a foundation, you'll hear a little that they put a lot of weight on the bow, a lot of weight. I'm envious because it's hard for me to do. They put a lot of weight on the bow, but they don't pull the bow fast enough, so you end up hearing. And my teacher, that professor told me, she said, the key is to put enough weight on the bow and pull it fast enough so you have a big tone and you have a nice clear tone. The quality of sound doesn't get distorted or hindered by you know. So I think when you have a foundation of technique a little bit or a lot, that's just going to help you play well. Still a violin. I think for the trumpets, I think that's where they really get confused. Like the way they their vibrato, in mariachi trumpet, they use their lips. As you get classical trumpet, they actually. In classical trumpet, I think they actually move. It's weird. I think that's where they get a little bit. That might be a little bit more difficult. Yeah.
Violin, oh my God, that is like the most difficult. My dad was a violinist.
I teach 5th and 6th grade kids, and one of the most difficult things for me to do is to get 5th and 6th grade boys to come into my choir. How many of you have sang in choir when you were a kid? Senor Pavarotti, Gonzalez.
No.
No? Did you get any kind of training?
From my father. He's a singer, so I learned from him.
Okay. But any of you sing when you were younger?
In the choirs?
In a choir at all?
No.
No? Well, that kills that idea.
The thing is, that's what I tell you about mariachis, is that we sort of grow up listening, and it's just something that we just have already in our
You're
ears.
kind of thrown into it. Like, if you haven't sang yet, oh, sing it right, and they put you in front of everybody. It's very uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's super uncomfortable. Especially when, like, I'm not much of a singer. So they put me, I'm like, oh, I'm over it already, because they did that to me when I was 18 years old, and that's pretty old. I was 18, but it's very awkward at the beginning, super awkward, because people are looking at you, and you're like, it's super awkward.
Well, I have two questions. Okay, when you perform, when you go to a show, restaurant, do you have a list of songs?
No, at the restaurant, no. It depends how we feel the audience. You know, we want to get up. I mean, there are certain songs that we know. I mean, they have to be dead if they don't respond to certain songs. my job, which is, it's sort of sad to say, but my job and their job is to try to get people to consume. You know?
The other question is, how many songs do you?
We don't count the songs, we have.
No, I mean, how many songs by memory?
We don't even know. We don't know. We have no clue.
How many songs do you have?
We have yes. We've never really sat down to wait. Yeah.
I know you're all very busy with the gigs, traveling and recording. How do you manage your time to be very, play very precisely?
Well, you know, we work together 4 nights a week for the most. The ones that work the less with us is, for instance, Lupe, he's in San Diego, and Lupe's a full-time teacher at Sweetwater School District. So it's harder for him to come here. I mean, we feel it as a section, you know, that he doesn't play with us all the time. Because when you work together all the time, you're very sharp and on your points, and it's very, very difficult. You know, but for the guys that do work together all the time, there is no problem. I mean, we try to practice 1 day a week, and it's like, you know, new music that I wrote for them, or polishing up some old stuff. Like right now, what we want to do, what I need to do with the guys right now, we have to polish up a lot of the old polkas and other songs that we haven't played in a while. That we need to polish up a lot of that stuff, because we don't want to lose that. We still want to play a lot of the polkas and a lot of the songs.
What is the foundation? Do you guys come from families that play mariachi?
Pues algunos de Ricardo, ¿tu papá tocaba mariachi o tus tíos?
Sí, en mi familia, pues mi papá, mis tíos, por parte de mi papá, pues tengo mujeres también, tías, primas, mis abuelos también.
His uncle used to play with me too. You know. Well, not with me, with the group. Used to play music. It's early in the morning.
My dad, his brothers, his grandfather.
He comes from a long line of musicians too. Lupe, when we go back, his uncle used to play with my father in the 60s, the Mariachi. And his grandfather used to probably play with my grandfather in Jalisco.
Bueno, yo empecé a tocar en grupos profesionales en el 70, 1970. Pero mi abuelo y el papá de mi abuelo tocaron la Sierra del Tigre allá con su abuelo. Es como
It's because, you know, originally this music was really passed down from family to family. And most of the families will say, "Oh, you're my daughter. No, you don't play mariachi. You're just a man." Fernando? Now there's a great example of mariachi education. He grew up in Tucson. He was part of Changuitos Feos too. So that's you know, it's sort of like a whole new generation of musicians that don't come from mariachi families, but they learn the music, you know, through the way that all of you are teaching this music, which is awesome for me.
He's your kid right there.
My dad exposed me to mariachi music. He actually started with his father. Yeah, and so.
That's awesome. I didn't see any of that. Eric,
Mi mamá era cantante y toda su familia también mariachis y músicos de orquesta y banda y muchas cosas así.
Yeah. His mother was a singer, and his dad, his uncles, they were like in orchestras and stuff like that. He looks like he's 16 or something. Everybody tells me he's like 16. I go, he's the Mexican version of Justin Bieber.
Bueno, pues yo soy creo que la cuarta generación de mi familia de músicos de mariachi, pues.
Yeah, he's had for 4 generations.
So, I come from a really big family, but none of them are mariachi musicians. I had an uncle that taught me guitar when I was junior high. I just started a trumpet. I wasn't very good at it. so I switched to art. But yeah, it's just going to, you know, growing up in public school, public education, band, orchestra.
We sort of introduced mariachi in his hometown, because what was it, 1988 or something, 89 maybe?
89.
He was one of my trumpet students.
91. I
Yes,
was like 6 or 7. I was 7 or 8.
But it's great that he knows a little bit about the trumpet, right? Because he could talk about it.
Yeah, and especially for like to encourage your kids too. Like it's great when they're in college. Weekend job, it's awesome. And yeah.
But you're studying musicology, right?
At the musicology.
At the
Well, I started in middle school in the Mariachi program.
¿Tu familiar es un maestro?
I have no musical.
He is out of Roosevelt High School in East Los Angeles. We're Stand and Deliver, Escalante.
Do they still have a mariachi program at that school?
Well, I don't know about the middle school, but I know that in the high school they still are trying to run it.
Are they?
Yeah.
Felipe?
Mi papá. Sí, mi papá, mi hermano, en mi casa pues, todos cantan.
¿Abuelos?
Mi abuelo y el papá de mi abuelo, el papá de mi papá,
Buenas noches.
papá de Jalisco, de tal país, cerquita de Mascota, ahí todo el tiempo, toda esa familia de mariachi.
Yes.
For guitarón player, did you start on guitar?
You know what? I started on guitar I started playing guitar for like 3 days. And I misheard my teacher say guitarón, so when they said who was going to play guitarón, there was only 3 guys who raised their hand. I wasn't So when I went to the room, they had the little practice room, I saw playing guitarón, I'm like, yeah. Yeah, but I started playing it and I liked it.
Well, you know, his family's from Cocula, Jalisco, right? So it's one of the birthplaces of mariachi music. Cable.
Well, we're almost at the end of our session. First of all, I broadcast the whole thing live on Periscope. So you guys will get it, you know, you can, if you sign up for Periscope to follow me, and that way you can see it. And that was really great. I have to tell you that it's so great that we have the real deal here. And so that, you know, I didn't know a lot of things about a lot of you guys until just today.
No, it's really cool. They have their story.
Yeah, your stories are wonderful. I mean, I would love to see just a little publication about each of you and your background. It's inspiring the teachers because, you know, we're going forward from this week to go out and try and touch others who are going to be you one day, right? And replace you. And the point is, we want to carry what you have done, the way you've established the farm, we'll say, and all of you as players. You know, this is what we aspire to do, so that the art form continues to live and breathe forever. You know, and so you're coming here last night, today, to inspire us, you know, to go out and be better teachers. I can't thank you enough.
And we're very grateful.
Oh,
we're very
we are
grateful
so
for all of you that you're out there, you know, the trenches, working with kids, trying to promote this music for us. It's awesome.
And we know it was difficult for you to get up so early this morning.